Welcome everyone to Build Well with Araceli. And today I'm here with Angie. She is a mortgage broker. And can you tell us who you are?
Yes, my name is Angela Nicholson, and I'm a loan officer with Conrad Mortgage, and we are a division of Gold Star Financial here in Strongsville, Ohio, and we are a full-service lending company.
Yep, perfect. So Angie, today we are here because there's a few things that I personally don't understand, and I've been buying properties for a while, for a few years now, and I buy them and then I rehab them and then I sell them.
Yes.
And I usually, when I get an offer, is from somebody, usually from an FHA buyer or a VA loan, and that's all I know.
Yeah.
And in a couple of occasions, so I've been selling a lot of properties, never had a problem, I get an offer, usually I already have a buyer pre-approved. So I don't have a problem, we agreed on a price and that's it. In a couple of occasions I have this, we cannot close because we're not clear to close. And I'm going like, what is this mystery? And nobody can really tell me what happens when they're not clear to close. What does that mean in your world on the mortgage side, right?
So a lot of times we try and keep the lines of communication open so that you're not finding out the day before closing that there might be a problem. On our side, we like to call that balancing. So we are looking to go with the title company and make sure that all of our paperwork matches down to the penny, and there's a lot of back and forth. So sometimes that clear to close could be that we're looking for $1 that means nothing.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So it might not be as nerve-wracking as it seems.
Okay.
Other times it could be that the borrower, your buyer, yes, they're pre-approved, but that's a snapshot in time. And we're very upfront with everyone involved when we do a pre-approval that here are the terms of this pre-approval. We also, on our side, those are called conditions. So
of course.
Underwriting will put conditions on an approval. So once we have a contract for the purchase, we look through it and we make sure that the buyer can meet those terms.
Okay.
We're all good. We move forward.
Yeah. So for what I know from my point of view as a seller is when I get an offer and somebody's already pre-approved, we usually set up a closing date. That's when the transfer of the property will move to the buyer's name. And what happens during that time, from my point of view as a seller, is usually I will have an inspection done, which is part of one of the conditions, depending on what you're selling. But because I'm selling the final product, normally there would be an inspection to make sure that everything is okay. So from the inspection, usually there's a report. And that report tells me, well, we think that you need to fix this and this is not working properly. They will always give you something to kind of correct. It always happens with me. I usually have 1 or 2 items that I need to fix. I usually try to leave the properties as in good condition as possible.
Which is admirable, actually.
And I always have 1 or 2 things that to fix, right? After that, also the lending, I don't know, the
financing,
the financing company will also ask for an appraisal.
Yes.
And that is another sort of inspection, I guess, that they will do, and they will compare your property or the property with other properties that sold in the area and give a value saying, yeah, it's okay to pay this much money, or no, it's not okay to pay this much money. Right? So to me, those are the only 2 requirements that I have to help with, because I have to give them access to the property and repair anything that needs to be repaired. But after that, I never knew that there was other checks and balances after this is met. So from my point of view, I have already met all of the conditions for this house to be sound. Yes. It appraised to the value that I'm selling it for, and it also has all the repairs and meets the criteria that the inspector has flagged. Yeah. But the clear to close is something that could really hinder the transaction.
Yes.
And what happens is that at some point, like how soon before closing? Like normally I would have 6 to 8 weeks, right? Mm-hmm. When they give me an offer and when we have a contract.
Yeah.
And what happens, I know that I have to get my inspection done and my appraisal done, but how soon you start looking at making sure that the buyers are ready to close and that they will close?
We honestly do that immediately because the inspections you're referring to usually happen within the first week of being under contract, and that's in the contract, the timeline that you have for those. But while those are being ordered and conducted, we're doing work behind the scenes to make sure that there's no red flags for underwriting.
So what kind of red flags would you say you can find?
We want to make sure that everything still qualifies, that the borrower's income, everything we use to get
it's still the same, right?
Yeah, that nothing changed. If anything changed, we might be asking them for additional information because just because there's changes doesn't mean we can't move forward. We might just take a minute to ask them, okay, go to your employer and get a letter saying these are the terms of your condition of your employment. So,
but Angie, my question is, wasn't this done before they actually get an approval?
Yes, if there
for
were,
an amount,
yes,
right?
If we knew everything up front, then yes. But sometimes
you have
borrowers,
to verify, like how, far in advance before the closing.
Well, we sometimes will close in 2 weeks, so it depends on the time.
How quickly?
There.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
so if everything lines up,
if you have 6 to 8 weeks to close,
right.
When would you start as a loan officer looking to make sure that everything lines up and that you cannot find any red flags?
Well, we submit to underwriting right away. So we'll give them everything we have from the buyer. And then when the appraisal comes back, we submit again.
Okay.
And then they'll do another review. And let's say that's fine.
Okay.
Then we're moving on to look for that clear to close. So then we're still looking at title work. Everything is coming together from different parties, and generally there's nothing. So if there was a situation where let's say the borrower left their employer, they misunderstood and they thought that all we did was look up front, and they feel they're fine because they know they have money coming in, but they forget that we're nervous and we don't like risk and we need to verify. So at that point, if there was a situation like that, I would reach out to you. If you were dealing directly with us and there's no go-between, or if there is, then we deal with the list agent. We will talk to the realtor to just say, please assure your seller that we are working on this issue, but it is a red flag. We try and be cognizant of people's privacy, so we're not going to divulge
Of course, yes.
specifics, but we're going to let you know if we feel maybe we need an extension or maybe we really think that they can't perform. We're not going to drag people along. So that's usually within the first 2 weeks.
So this is something very important because sometimes, and I had, as I said, I've only had this happen to me twice, but it does disrupt your plans. Because you already know that you're closing, so that means you're moving on to the next property or to whatever you are doing with that money. And this actually just recently happened to me, and the loan officer, I think in my opinion, they dropped the ball because we always check, like my realtor always checks a few weeks before we're ready to close on the day that we are given, that everything is okay. And the loan officer was not replying back, saying anything at all until the very day of closing. And we were told that we couldn't close because the buyer decided to move to another job And she claims that she didn't know and that nobody told her, which is, I find it a little hard to believe, right? But my point here is that you really want to work with somebody that is kind of taking care of you, because it's not only about the other party was disappointed as well,
right?
But I think that you educate people on what they need to do, especially when they are closing on a property, because lenders don't really look at it really nicely if you make huge changes. And some of those are like changing a job, right? Don't do that. Also, make large purchases, like if you're going to buy a car or anything like that. So you don't want to make any of those changes if you are buying a property. But I'm just talking about from the point of view as an investor, that creates a wrinkle into the whole mix. So that's what you want to have, somebody that would help you through and understand exactly what that means and what can be done, right? So in this kind of situation, Angie, what would you have done?
Well, that's what I was going to speak to, is that it is a team, and we have so many people here that in our office, as well as at Gold Star, that we can reach out to. Everyone here is committed to a good experience on all sides of the deal. We are very cognizant, because we know what investors do, that this isn't just an easy thing. We know that you're depending on this to go through so that you can do what you need to do. We want to help the buyer, because if someone is an FHA or VA buyer, that is admirable as a seller, that you're helping someone who can get into a home that maybe couldn't before. So we want to make it stress-free for everyone, but we would look into what is the exact situation. And if I felt that it wasn't going to go smooth, that if I didn't have 100% or 95% confidence that we're going to get to closing with no issues, I would pull in the rest of the team. I would ask our sales director, I would ask our branch manager, I might even ask the underwriter themselves, what exactly is the likelihood of this closing, and do we need to involve the seller at this point? Do we need to let them know, and what should we let them know? Because I don't want to avoid talking to people. I want you to feel you can talk to me, and the same, so it goes both ways.
And the thing is also with Angie, she has many different products, because if, let's say that you qualify for a particular product at this time, but down the road when you are ready to close, something happened, something that might be unexpected, then at that time she might be able to look for a different product that makes you close. You may have to pay a little bit more interest, but you're not going to affect the closing date. So there's many ways to do this, right? It's just a matter of being a little bit creative, and that's what you're looking for when you are dealing with a mortgage officer, that it's going to actually help you navigate through, and if there's any changes, that you can actually go through with it and not kind of interrupt the transaction. That's what you don't want to do. Well, this has actually been very helpful, because to me it's like a total mystery when somebody says we're not clear to close, and I'm like, what happened here? The sky's falling. What happens? So that it's it. I hope that you found that very interesting, and you can always reach out to Angie if there's anything at all that we didn't discuss today about what it means to close. So all her information will be in the notes, and you can always find her here in Strongsville, Ohio.
Yes, I'm always happy to help.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Angie, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'll see you in the next one.